There is a name that strikes fear into the hearts of humans across continents. The fame of this fearful beast has travelled far and wide, and the question of its existence still remains unknown. It is the name of a mysterious giant beast, mythical, magical, and mighty. That name is the Yeti. There are a number of different names used to describe this mythical creature, also known as Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yurlin, the Abominable Snowman, the Filthy Snowman, Miche, which means the man-bear, Zunfur, meaning the cattle bear, Mygo, the wild man, King Adme, the snowman, Merca, Bun Munchie, Big Muddy Monster, and the Alabama Boogerman. These names describe a variety of interpretations of the Yeti or Bigfoot. Some of them are thought to be different species, and some of them different names for describing the same thing. The Merca is thought to be especially dangerous, and kills everyone who sees it. The Filthy Snowman is less bloodthirsty, but is consumed with lust, and will assault any human that crosses its path. The Chinese Yurlin has orange hair, while the Abominable Snowman or Yeti is white or grey-haired, and lives in the Himalayan mountains in Asia, near Tibet, Nepal and China. Bigfoot, on the other hand, lives near Washington, in the Pacific Northwest of the United States of America. While most sightings of Bigfoot occur in the Northwest, the creatures have been reported all over the country. There are many native myths and stories of wild men in the woods, but the modern legend of Bigfoot has been around for only about 50 years. Interest in Bigfoot grew rapidly during the second half of the 20th century, spurred by magazine articles of the time, such as a December 1959 article in the magazine True, describing the discovery of large mysterious footprints the year before in Bluff Creek, California. So if you are ever out hiking in the area and hear a strange rustling in the undergrowth, or mysteriously heavy footsteps approaching from behind, you had better watch out. The question is whether Bigfoot and the Yeti are different species, or whether they are the same species of giant man living in different parts of the world. Perhaps we will never know. There are reports of the different types of Yeti-like creatures having different coloured fur and markings. For instance, the Yeren variety has orange fur and white markings around its face, whereas the Asian Yeti is described as reddish-brown in colour, and the Abominable Snowman has white fur. In this video, we are going to focus mainly on the Asian Yeti. In her book, Still Living, Yeti, Sasquatch, and the Neanderthal Enigma, researcher Myra Shackley offers the following description, reported by two hikers in 1942 who saw two black specks moving across the snow about a quarter of a mile below them. Despite this significant distance, they offered the following very detailed description. The height was not much less than 8 feet. The heads were described as squarish, and the ears must lie close to the skull because there was no projection from the silhouette against the snow. The shoulders sloped sharply down to a powerful chest, covered by reddish-brown hair which formed a close body fur, mixed with long straight hairs hanging downward. Another person saw a creature about the size and build of a small man, the head covered with long hair, but the face and chest not very hairy at all. Reddish-brown in colour and bipedal, it was busy grubbing up roots, and occasionally emitted a loud, high-pitched cry. The Yeti has only ever been spotted in the highest mountains, on the rooftop of the world, at an average altitude of 12,000 feet or higher. At those kind of heights the temperature is super freezing cold. Hypothermia is a very grave risk to mountaineers in the region. Hypothermia is a dangerous drop in body temperature, below 35 degrees centigrade. Normal body temperature is around 37 degrees. Someone with severe hypothermia may be unconscious and have shallow breathing and a weak pulse. Could lack of oxygen and the freezing cold at such high altitudes be the reason for the Yeti's blood-curdling, lustful and immoral behaviour? Is the Yeti a wild version of humankind, living free to roam in the depths of the wilderness, without dependence on society, technology, or following any kind of social rules? Myths and legends surrounding the existence of the Yeti date back centuries. There are pictures in Nepalese and Tibetan paintings that illustrate the beast, some of which are more than 500 years old. Alexander the Great demanded to see a Yeti when he conquered the Indus Valley in 326 BC, but according to National Geographic, local people told him they were unable to present one because the creatures could not survive at that low an altitude. To the locals, the existence of the Yeti is no big deal. It is simply considered to just be one of the creatures that inhabit the mountains, albeit a very, very dangerous one, and one that reminds them to keep safe and not stray far from friends or their local community. A bit like the big bad wolf in the famous fairy tale of Red Riding Hood, the Yeti serves as a warning not to stray from the path. But typically, the Western world cannot accept that the Yeti actually exists without proof. There needs to be scientific evidence. An artist, writer and author of Yeti Society, Martin Sexton, points out, the interruption occurs when Westerners discover it. The Yeti is then put at loggerheads with rational science. Martin's book is about Yeti encounters and how convincing they are to Western rationality and logic that needs proof in order to believe not just local people, but also the experiences of very well-respected scientists. The book is also about ecology, the fact that when we've cut down every forest, such a thing as the Yeti will no longer be able to exist. So they become an archetype for the fact that as long as Yetis might possibly exist, so we too may have a chance of survival as a species, having not yet completely destroyed our beautiful planet Earth. Wonder is extraordinary and profound, and tragically perhaps, our need to explain and rationalize everything also destroys our sense of wonder. Despite the fact that some of the greatest explorers and naturalists in the world have documented sightings of this mythical creature, and the fact that there is a wealth of knowledge, robust literature, and even photos documenting real-life sightings, it is still not accepted as a beast that exists in actual fact. But this does not mean that the Yeti does not exist. It is estimated that approximately 2,000 new species of creatures are being discovered every year, revealed in the unexplored areas of the world. Hidden high up in the peaks, on top of the world, floating above us, yet out of view in these huge swathes of uncharted territory, lurking, hiding, and remote, the mountain zombie. In his 2017 book, Folktales of Sherpa and Yeti, writer Shiva Dakal documents Himalayan folktales. The book is the result of Shiva Dakal's trek to Rolwaling and Khumbu, creatively exploring the intricacy of human relationships. Shiva Dakal offers a dazzling diadem of 12 folktales, including one in which a group of Sherpas managed to fend off an attack by a wild pack of Yetis by plying them with alcohol, so that the Yetis turn on each other to fight and leave the Sherpas alone. A moral tale about the dangers of drunkenness and alcohol. What is a Sherpa, you may ask? A Sherpa is one of the ethnic groups of Tibetan ancestry native to the most mountainous regions of Nepal and the Himalayas. The term Sherpa or Sherwa derives from the Sherpa language and is from the words Shaya, meaning east, and Pa, meaning people, which refer to their geographical origin of eastern Tibet. Some groups of Sherpa peoples are said to worship a glacier being known as the god of the hunt, and they view the region's mountains as the homes of the gods. Here are some examples of sightings of the Yeti. In 1957, the self-made oil mogul Tom Slick sent missions to the Himalayas in search of the Yeti. They found feces and hair, and there was an unclassified parasite in the feces. Scientists were unable to identify the host animal for this excreta. Could it have really been from a Yeti? In 1953, the famous mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary saw large footprints while he was climbing Everest. His experience changed his mind on the Yeti issue, having previously refused to believe the possibility of its existence. In 1951, at 14,000 feet in Nepal, mountaineers Sir Eric Shipman and Michael Ward found a Yeti footprint and photographed it with a pickaxe beside it to indicate its size. This photograph can be found on the cover of Martin Sexton's book, Yeti Society. In 1925, a photographer for the Royal Geographic Society spotted a creature at about 15,000 feet, near the Zermoli Glacier. He observed it from about 200 yards away and described the outline as being exactly like a naked human being walking upright and stopping occasionally. In 1921, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Howard Barry led a British reconnaissance expedition to Mount Everest. At 21,000 feet, he found footprints. At first he thought they were those of some kind of wolf with a deformed double track, or maybe a bear with opposable paws, as some local bears live in the trees when they're young, and as a result they develop opposable paws. He asked the Sherpa who was leading them up the mountain what on earth they could be, and the Sherpa just laughed and said, "That's the wild man of the snow, the man-bear snowman." Howard Barry mistranslated the Sherpa's name for the man-bear snowman and called it the filthy snowman, but when he relayed his story to journalists, they changed the name again to the abominable snowman. However, the original mistranslation, filthy snowman, more accurately conjures up the image of the wild beast, a sort of shadow self of humankind. Is the Yeti just that? Perhaps so. Maybe the Yeti is a metaphor for all that is bad and held hidden deeply within us. All our fears, disgust, desires, wildness, and ill behaviour. Or perhaps, as artist and writer Martin Sexton points out in his novel Yeti Society, the Yeti represents a kind of wild Adam. They are us, but a pure version of us, living wild in nature and capturing the possibility of Eden as they live in complete harmony with the earth, away from the entrapments, dangers, and destructive forces of modern civilization.